Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the Steven Hour. Yes, we are back with a top 10 video, and today I'll be doing my top 10 favorite teen dramas ever. So keep in mind, this is like TV shows, and its main demographic audience are a teen audience. I'm basing them on how entertaining they are, what kind of stories we're getting told, and overall just how interesting and invested I am with the series. Now I'll be doing my top 10, but before we get into that, let's kick off with an honorable mention. The honorable mention goes to Freaks and Geeks. For those who have never seen this, basically Freaks and Geeks was a show made by Paul Feig and Jude Apatow, and basically it's like this coming of age story with these two groups, the Freaks and the Geeks. And the show takes place in the 80s, and in the 80s, like during the 1980 to 81, and it's set in the town of Chippewa, Massachusetts, and in the fictional suburb of Detroit. Now, basically, it's about, like I said, Freaks and Geeks. It's about like this outcast group known as Freaks and the group of Geeks, each taking place at different year levels, and we get to see stories and predicaments. Now, what I like about it is it feels mature, and I think that's what it is. I can't help but watch this show and feel like, did this lay the groundwork for the future teen dramas, with really being more forward-thinking with like topics to tell on the show. Now, it also should be noted as it's the first major acting roles of James Franco and Seth Rogen, who of course are known for comedies, and James Franco definitely has a vast acting, let's say, range, let's say it mildly. Now, the reason why I have this as an honorable mention is purely the fact it only had one season, but it's not its fault. It was because of just either like poor time slots that led to poor ratings, and it was always just shifted all over the place. I think it won a few, not Oscars, but a few TV awards because of because how it is, and the show has definitely developed a cult following, and is considered an absolute classic amongst the teen drama genres. So with the honorable mention out of the way, let's get into the rest of the list. Number 10 goes to Riverdale. This show is literally exploding right now in popularity. Right now it's on its 5th season. I'm not entirely sure if it's getting a 6th, but if it is, it wouldn't surprise me. Though I will admit, maybe its popularity has kind of decreased a little bit, but it was definitely huge when it came out, and it still definitely has its fan base. For those, now, Riverdale is based on the comic series, the Archie comics, which of course is named after its main character, and the series essentially is adapted by the CW. The original, and essentially is a slight modern update of the more classic series. Now, the series features an all-star, an ensemble cast of the characters from the Archie comics, and the series essentially follows around Archie Andrews' life in a small town called Riverdale, hence the name of the show, and explore the darkness hidden behind its seemingly perfect image. So it has this kind of dark feel. I also like how it also has like a 50s feel in regards of maybe a little bit of style and aesthetics, but that's because the comics the original, but way before they modernized it, were around that time. Now, I like the dark mysteries. It has that like teen mystery solving. It's like Scooby-Doo but mature and get rid of the dog. I would say with the haunted monsters, but well, the people dressed up in costumes, but the show has definitely done that. It is definitely a unique show. I definitely admit season 1 is good. Season 2 and 3 and 4 have kind of definitely gone off the rails. That's what that's a bit interesting. And honestly, what I like about it, it gets off the rails as we go on each season by season. Like there's no limit to what they want to tell. Another thing I also love about the show, I really love about it, is its ensemble cast. All the actors here are absolutely phenomenal. They have so much great chemistry. And true, sometimes the dialogue can be cheesy and corny, but it just works. And I think it's because of either the actors that really make it work. It is absolutely great. And the fact that it's now a groundbreaking teen drama, well, I wouldn't say groundbreaking, but it's definitely a phenomenon teen drama. Everyone has watched it, and it definitely has a lot of fans. People love this show. I'm one of them. I will admit, right now, my enjoyment for the series is beginning to diminish, probably because of how crazy it's getting. But I enjoyed watching the craziness unfold either way. Granted, maybe my enthusiasm is not as big as it used to be, but it is still there. And it is still a very good show. It has definitely the craziness that I think you can get out of this show. Number 9. Sex Education. We were getting into a Netflix original series. Honestly, Netflix has a lot of good shows going for it. Now, Sex Education it's more of a comedy than a real drama, but it does have a drama moment nonetheless. Basically, it revolves around the socially awkward high school student Otis, who may not have much experience in the lovemaking department, but he has good guidance on the topic of a personal sex ed education because of living with his mom, who is a sex therapist. Eventually, Otis gets involved in a business, of essentially being a therapist to teens who just want this, to talk about, like, improving, like, their sex life. So, basically, that's the premise. And it's funny as hell. I'm laughing. But because of the title of the show, Sex Education, it is definitely I would say mature comedy, as it really focuses on teen sexual escapades. You get a lot of comedy out of that, and I'm laughing. I'm absolutely loving. They've currently done 2 seasons. Season 3 is presumably coming out. I'm not entirely sure because it's been quite a long time. And the one thing, and I love the comedy value. The actors work so well off each other. But one thing I need to point out is, even though the show is kind of meant to be America, it has a sort of Britain feel to it. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. And honestly, so far, there's nothing too crazy or too out there to really destroy my love of the show. But it is definitely a comedy. So you've got to think of that when going through. This is going to be a comedy. So get prepared for some laughs. And I admit you will not be disappointed. You will get some laughs out of this. Number 8. Veronica Mars. This is definitely a show that has developed a cult following to the point where I think it got a reboot. I've only seen the original. I've never seen the reboot, but who knows? Maybe one day I will. So basically, Veronica Mars is a drama series where it revolves around the high school student Veronica Mars. Hence the show is named after, and who is deeply affected by the murder of her best friend, and devotes her life to solving the toughest murder mystery in her town, whilst also getting involved in other cases. She's sort of like a private eye type character. Normally, a concept like that probably wouldn't work, but it absolutely does. Kristen Bell, who portrays Veronica, absolutely fantastic performance here. I loved every minute of it. I also admit the show also goes for a noir type feel, which honestly, for me, I'm more into that. Like I said, this show definitely developed a cult following. It only ran for, if I recall correctly, the original show ran for, I think it was 4 seasons. Yeah, it did. 4 seasons. It ran for 4 seasons and was cancelled. It got a reboot. I'm not entirely sure, but it has definitely developed a huge fan base, and I love it. Now, there are rumors of a 5th season. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to go with that and what they're going to do, but I can't wait to see where we go. Number 7. 13 Reasons Why. God, do I love this show. Now, 13 Reasons Why revolves around the teenager of Clay Jensen, who after the death of essentially the woman he had teenager he had a crush on, because Clay's also in high school, so don't think dirty, tragically commits suicide. He stumbles across tapes which were recorded by Hannah, which he's left behind. Basically, these tapes revolve around a student who was a contributing factor to the death of Hannah. One thing I can admit, 13 Reasons Why is definitely going to be groundbreaking and should be considered as a pioneer in developing or tackling teen issues. Suicide, body appearance, sexuality. A lot of teen issues are done here. And I think they're done in a very mature and a very way that we see both sides of the story. It's not just one. Other than that, the fact that it's dealing with suicide and showing the effects it has on the parents, the friends, and the question who is to be blamed when this happened. Because in season 2, the parents of Hannah take the school to court, blaming the school for Hannah's suicide for not helping. Again, a lot of issues are raised. Also, the characters here, I will always admit, are why they're my favorite, because they are not too one-dimensional. They're so layered. We see the different sides, even the bad guys, essentially, in the show, the bullies. There's more to them than their appearance. We get to see the other side. So we get to see the many layers. Now, season 1 was fantastic. Season 2, I got invested. Well, I will be honest, it should have really ended after season 3. Season 4, good, especially its finale, had a very nice, satisfying wrap-up. It also kind of felt the whole season was too unnecessary and almost too dark. If I could really complain about one thing about the show, and understand, I love this show, but if I can really bring one gripe into the show, I felt it went for too long. But it deals with such a serious topic, and I think this show should be applauded for going in that direction to address these issues and make it a sort of starting a conversation. That's what the showrunners have always said. This series was to start a conversation because of these issues. If you haven't seen this show, give it a watch. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original and a beloved, and is definitely going to be a show that is going to be beloved. People say it's a bit overrated, and I get that, but it's not overrated. It is absolutely a good show. Give it a watch. Number 6. The Vampire Diaries. I'll be honest. For a while, I never saw this show and just thought it is just honestly going to be a bad show. But I found out it lasted for quite a long time, and it's definitely developed quite a lot of fans. Now, if I recall correctly, the Vampire Diaries was a show that aired on the CW, I think it was a CW show, and it was during that whole craze when really, like, you had teen dramas but to have a supernatural twist. Anyway, but basically, it revolves around this high school student named Ella who meets for a boy named Stefan. But it turns out Stefan is a vampire. In fact, he also has a brother who's also a vampire. And the series revolves around the sort of what eventually evolves into a love triangle between Eleanor, Stefan, and Damien. And it's kind of like, who is she going to end up with? Ironically, something like that will not work, but it does. The show, for me, I thought would be bad, actually made me very addicted to the show. And I think it's probably because of its cast of characters, how they work with each other, and honestly, I'm invested in the story. And even though at first it's just vampire, we introduce werewolves. We then introduce what are known as originals, which are kind of vampires, but kind of not. And basically, other creatures and even witches also get involved in the show. The show is also responsible for, I think, 2 spin-offs, The Originals and Legacies. I think that's another spin-off. I like this show. Probably my favorite character from the show has to be Damien. In fact, I should do a video on, characters that start off as bad guys but evolve into good guys. I love this show. And honestly, it is a real good teen drama. And the actress who plays Eleanor in the show, her name is Nia Deborova. I'm probably butchering that name, But she not only plays Ella, but she plays a few of Ella's doppelgangers. And I absolutely love how she could switch and show different sides to that, different, portrayals. She's actually fantastic, and she can play the good girl, the bad girl, and even the innocent girl. She can play all three. It is absolutely great. Give this show a watch. People say it's overrated. The reason I have it at number 6 is probably because even I admit it's a little bit overrated. But I put it at number 6 because I enjoy it. I also felt it kind of went for a bit too long, and the later seasons probably lost, I admit, I lost a bit of interest. But I will admit, it had a good, satisfying season finale, a series finale. I give Vampire Diaries a watch. Number 5, The OC. One of my first TV series reviews. I think if I recall correctly, it was the very first. This is a really good show, and it's like almost almost like a opera, like this constant drama that's always unfolding. Now, for those who don't know, let's go through it again. I've already established. The OC is basically revolves around this Ryan Atwood, who is this kid from the wrong side of the tracks, eventually gets welcomed into the wealthy and upper class community of Orange County, hence the title The OC, gets involved in that family, and he also has to be careful because the world he's in is not the world from the streets. There are people that don't like him because he comes from this poor background. Also, he's also brought into a world where there's a bunch of lies and shifting loyalties and intrigue. So basically, it's like a bunch of deception. Now, Ryan Atwood is portrayed by Ben McKenzie, and that is the same guy to play James Gordon in Gotham. It also has some of my favorite characters: Seth Cohen, Summer Roberts, and Marissa Cooper. This has a really good ensemble cast, all great and absolutely intriguing. This is such a good addictive drama, and it does the usual maybe trope of the kid from the wrong side of the tracks, gets welcomed into the rich community. Maybe that's a trope that's slightly getting outdone, but I think this is one of the few that did it the best, and I love it. Honestly, I think the 4 main work so well, and its first 2 seasons are pretty strong. Maybe season 3 got wonky, and season 4 got a bit lacking, but I thought it had another good series finale. After I do a few TV show reviews, one day I'm going to do top 10 series finales. Who knows? I might consider doing that one day. The OC is just so addictive, and I enjoyed every minute of watching it. It's definitely one of the many pioneers of teen dramas where you can get a good ensemble cast, create really juicy dramas, and that is really what got me hugely invested in the show. The drama. And very few teen shows honestly had me do that. Give it a watch. Number 4. Number 4 goes to the Gilmore Girls. And if you're thinking, what? Seriously? This show? Are you kidding? Well, mate, I literally just had the Vampire Diaries on this list. Are you really that surprised I would go there? Basically, the series revolves around Laurie Gilmore and her daughter, who is an independent young woman, and she has a very close bond with her daughter Rory. And essentially, it revolves around that and the interaction with the family, as it's quite strained. The real lead is Rory Gilmore, and she is a strong, very bright, intelligent woman who honestly, is in her own little world. She gets accepted to this fancy school, and she, has to try and maneuver as it's not like your normal school. One thing I give this show credit, probably more than any other show on this list, even the top 3 spot, is the dialogue. It is absolutely great. It feels organic, and the wittiness, I love it. If you want to watch this show, give it for the dialogue, especially the interactions with Rory and her mother. Absolutely great. Another thing this show should also be known for, I think the show also was from the CW, and was one of, and was praised for its humor, drama, and it is definitely a beloved show from the network. And the drama is also pretty good. Again, we get to see, it's mostly with Rory's maybe trying to really mingle and be a part of this more high society. She has, now, even though Lorelai, Rory's mother, has a strained relationship with Rory's grandmother, Rory doesn't have that. She has a good connection and a good relationship with her grandparents. In fact, every time they come over, they're always happy to see Rory. And that's really nice. It's really nice. Again, a bunch of other cast characters, and it's the usual, who's Rory going to end up with, is always contributing. But I generally like this show. And I put it up so high for the dialogue. It makes me laugh every time. I generally enjoy this show very much, especially its very early seasons. Give it a watch if you haven't. Number 3. Dawsons Creek. Okay, I'll be honest. I just recently watched this, and I'm so far into season 3, so I really shouldn't really be putting this on this list until I really watch the whole series. But I like this show. Dawsons Creek essentially revolves around its main character, Dawson, who is a filmmaker. And it's also interacting with his cast of friends, and all of them have a unique personality and struggles that are going up and down. For quite a first bit of the series, it was thought with Dawson, it was the rule Dawson end up with Joey, but it never happened. Well, it did happen, but the relationship ended. Eventually, Joey ends up with Pacey, Dawson's best friend. And of course, a whole bunch of cast of characters come in. I think the show had the first ever gay person. I'm not being offensive of that, but I think it's the first time I had a gay person. The character's name was Jack. Just Jack. And I think it's the first time we had an actual gay character, come out of the closet on the show. On any series at the first time, because we've always had lesbians, but we never had an actual gay man. So I really liked that. Now, I'll be honest, Dawson as the main lead is probably I don't like him. Not really a huge fan. I feel he's too controlling. True, he's a teen, but I felt like he never. Right now, maybe he hasn't evolved yet. But then again, I'm only quite just into the show. I've only watched the first few seasons, so I hasn't seen him quite evolve. In fact, my favorite character is Pacey. He's honestly my favorite character on the show, and probably the only reason I ever watched it. Other characters that interact are so good too, and yeah. Now, I understand this has its followings, and again, I put it at 3 because I do enjoy it, but I will be honest. So far, the only reason I wouldn't probably put this up higher is only because of Dawson. In fact, rethinking, maybe I should have put it down low on the list, but I'm still in the kick, I'm still liking the show, so who knows, maybe once I watch the series, finish it, maybe I'll put it down on the list, but it's still a good show. It's just my real problem is Dawson, the main character. I find him slightly unlikable, but not Zach Morris unlikable, and I'll get to that when I do a video around my least favorite teen characters. I'll get around to that. Number 2. Teen Wolf. I fucking love this show. Sorry, pardon my language. But I absolutely do. Now, for those who don't know, Teen Wolf was a show that was made by MTV and revolves around the character of Scott McCall, who, after one day getting bitten by a werewolf, he turns into a werewolf at night, but not during the day, and he must learn to adapt to this new identity while handling teenage life. And as a result of that, he's brought into this world of werewolves and other creatures. No vampires though. No, not one vampire appears in the show. I absolutely love Scott McCall, Styles, Allison, and Lydia, Derek. All fun and great characters came from this show. And honestly, this show gives me drama, it gives me action, and it gives me comedy, but in a teen format. And for a while, this was my favorite teen drama show. I don't know why, it just works so well with me, and I would talk about it quite a lot. But a show has dethroned it as my favorite teen drama, and that goes to, drumroll please, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. An absolute an absolute phenomenal. I believe it's a cult classic, even though it had quite a lot of seasons. This show is just so groundbreaking. First off, a female in the lead that can kick ass, independent, and not rely on a man is interesting. Now, Buffy the Vampire Slayer rolls around the character of Buffy Summers, who, after becoming a Slayer, the chosen one, she must now balance her Slayer duties to hunt vampires and demons, but also balancing her her school life and the destiny that comes with her as a Slayer. The all-cast of characters help too. Xander, the best friend, Angel, Willow, Tara, and Giles, all fantastic characters that work off everyone. And its main lead as well is also fantastic. It was a great casting choice to cast Sarah Michelle Gellar in the role. She works this role, and it is arguably going to be her defining role for the rest of her career, no matter what other role she goes for. There's just something about her as Buffy that works so organically that every time I see this actress, I prefer to always as Buffy rather than actress name. Nothing personal, it's just that's so identifiable. This show balances the teen drama, but also really investing dramas that get me in. It also is groundbreaking because of how the series is structured. Like, each season had a main big bad, something that I always associate with not just Arrow, but normal TV shows. Every season has a big bad guy. And sometimes there'll be stories that will be picked up on in the second season. I'm not sure if this was the first one to do so, but it did. It also has a bunch of other spin-offs, both in comics, both comic books, but it also had a TV show, a spin-off, Angel, who of course was Buffy's main love interest for the first 3 seasons, and then of course when the season went on, other love interests came in. Riley, Spike, with Spike being my favorite, of course. But honestly, this show is just always interesting to watch. Great fight choreography, really great storytelling, impactful character development, and overall just a roller coaster of a ride. And I will admit, the series evolves definitely from where it started to really mature, fun entertainment. You'll get an absolute joy watching this, and that's why it is my number 1. And there we have it. That was my top 10 teen dramas. Do you agree with this list? What other shows would you have put on? Are there any I'm missing? Please put down your lists in the comments. And until next time, this has been the Steven Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.